The physics and psychology of the future are already present today. If you are watching this, chances are you already felt and have begun to cross, in your own way, the split between matter and spirit, body and soul. New consciousness never rises first in the collective, but in individuals who take their journey seriously and listen deeply to what is searching to be born. Reality is one unknown field. We can imagine it as a matrix of consciousness. In the background, it is open potential, not yet this or that. In the foreground, it condenses into time and space, showing up as bodies, events, relationships. Wherever consciousness becomes coherent enough to take on a particular shape. From within, we meet it as psyche. From without, we meet it as matter. Symbols, feelings, synchronicities are some of the ways that field speaks. The psyche stands between body and spirit, a bridge where both sides meet, so every experience has a material face and a spiritual face. The primary wound in the Western soul is the belief that these sides are separate. How could we not be split if we grow up in a world that talks this way? We are trained to think dogmatically, that inner images are just in our head and outer events are just dead stuff out there. We are often taught to trust only rational control and objective facts. Anything symbolic or immeasurable usually gets treated as unreal, as if it doesn't count. You probably felt this when you hesitated to share a dream or an intuition. Psychologically, the block is our fear of not being in control, of becoming conscious of a reality where we are not the center. Our grandiosity won't accept being part of a larger order that it cannot command. To sense this one field of reality means admitting that my consciousness is a small, local event in a much greater field. So we push away or mock the very experiences that point toward that deeper unity. The way through this veil of fear and control is a symbolic attitude, one that treats dreams, images, and meaningful coincidences as genuine encounters with that deeper order, speaking through psyche and world simultaneously. Most of the time our awareness is scattered, like random waves scribbled all over a page. A symbolic attitude begins to phase them together, like a coherent beam of light. The more in step our thoughts, feelings, and body become, the more powerfully this deeper field can express itself through a single moment. As we learn to hold opposites, science and soul, reason and imagination, matter and spirit, without collapsing into one side, something new can appear. That emergent third is a first taste of the one field of reality. This journey follows that dialogue between matter and soul. A sharp mind can cut through illusion in service of the one field of reality and the creation of consciousness, or it can defend the prevailing worldview and its unconsciousness. Today, it often serves the latter. In the West, dogma reduces the body to a machine, matter to dead stuff, and soul to a side effect, an epiphenomenon, something to be ignored. With Descartes came the split, soul expelled for matter, the connecting feminine exiled from the cosmos and confined to private and unimportant subjectivity. Once, nature was imagined as having a world soul, and each psyche, yours and mine, was a local expression of it. Some lineages remembered the tension of opposites. Heraclitus and the alchemists saw reality as a living fire, where something new is constantly born. They knew that matter, the vessel of transformation, is equally valuable as spirit. When spirit is seen as pure and matter as a fall, we try to escape the world instead of realizing the divine potential through it. Work on matter and work on soul mirror one another. The goal is conjunctio, a third state born from conscious creative holding of the tension of opposites, until something transcendent appears. In alchemy and in Jung's reading of it, conjunctio is not just fusion. It is the birth of a third state from a genuine tension of opposites. When you are split between two strong tendencies, do not rush to choose or suppress. Give each side a voice, on paper or in active imagination. Let the fearful one speak, then the ambitious one, then the tired part, without identifying completely with any of them. Stay with the discomfort until a third possibility, a new attitude, or a small concrete step begins to show itself. In close relationships, we tend to defend my truth against yours. To work alchemically is to ask, what new truth wants to be born between us that neither of us can see alone? Practically, that means slowing down arguments, naming both sides clearly, and then pausing long enough for a different response to arise that honors both realities, at least partially. It can look like embodied rituals around tension. When you are carrying a considerable inner tension, for example, between staying and living, between safety and growth, choose a simple ritual container. A walk, a candle, a journal hour. Enter it consciously, holding both poles. Ask for an image, a dream, or a felt sense that can carry the conflict forward without prematurely solving it. You are inviting the unconscious to take part in the decision, rather than forcing a purely mental choice. It can also take the form of therapy and group work as vessels. Any serious therapeutic or group process can serve as an alchemical vessel when it protects the tension of opposites, instead of collapsing into quick advice, premature forgiveness, or one-sided stories. The goal is not to remove conflict, but to stay with it long enough that a more integrated pattern of personality can constellate. Conjunctio in this sense is not abstract mysticism. It is a style of presence with conflict that allows something genuinely new to come into being. In the last century, quantum physics tore the veil of control and apparent certainty in classical physics and found paradox and indeterminacy at the heart of matter. Simultaneously, C.G. Jung found that rationality is a thin layer upon a vast invisible ocean in which archetypes swim, unseen, and that this ocean shapes both world and psyche. A new insight dawns. World and psyche arise together from a deeper ground that is best described as a symbolic potential realm. We were trained to think that clear thought must be literal, that anything symbolic or dreamlike is irrational, childish, and unscientific. But censoring the symbolic does not protect reason. It blinds it to the very source of its creativity. Concepts are helpful, but they are dead containers. They hold only what the intellect has already put into them. A symbol is different. It is a living form. Its meaning can never be exhausted, and it is not invented by humans. Think of numbers. We like to imagine we invented them, but we only discovered relations that were already there. and the many mysterious connections we keep uncovering between them over time. Symbols are like that, multi-layered, virtually infinite in meaning, autonomous from us. The psyche is like a field, with centers of energy and pattern. What Jung called archetypes points to this level, where instinct and image are one spectrum. Broad drive on the bodily side, symbolic spirit on the inner side. And among these patterns, there is a central, ordering archetype that Jung called the archetypal self, the inner principle of wholeness that tries to weave our fragments into a more coherent pattern of life and personality. Each center is like a tiny hologram of the whole, a local knot in the field that carries information about the larger pattern. Our nervous system and even our cells seem to work this way. Memory and meaning are not stored in a single place, but distributed and non-local, so that touching one point in the body can sometimes release an entire story. At the physical edge of this, cells whisper to each other in faint flashes of light, biophotons, coordinating growth, healing, and awareness, so that even biologically we are patterned light condensed into form. Archetypal order is not only inner. Outside, it is expressed in nature, as recurring physical structures and patterns of behavior. Crystals forming, geese flying in formation, the typical dynamic between dogs and cats, the great rhythms and laws of nature. Inside, it appears as numinous autonomous images, dreams, fantasies. In the one unknown field, rational knowledge and mystical insight are not enemies, but two phases of one movement. Intuition touches the pattern, thought doubts, tests, and refines it. When in early modern times, the materialistic perspective exiled soul from nature, our inner world of feeling and imagination turned into mere subjectivity, and the feminine interconnecting principle was pushed out of the cosmos into the unimportant, anecdotal human being. A new science must recover what was cast out, not by throwing away mathematics, but by seeing number and form as expressions of deeper archetypal patterns, and by recognizing that inner images and outer structures belong to one field. Here, the dark feminine is the name for subterranean wisdom, for the soul of matter itself that insists on being included. When she returns, world soul and divine geometry meet again as two faces of the same mystery. At that point, reality itself is seen as symbolic. Every event has two sides, an inner meaning and an outer happening. The symbol becomes the meeting place where psyche and world touch without collapsing into either one. To take symbols as real mediators is to stop choosing between matter and spirit, and to let both speak from a deeper, shared order. The psyche can only see itself when it is mirrored in an other. The same is true for the world. We never meet things in themselves. Only this live encounter between outer events and the way they are reflected in our inner life. Quantum physics shows that the observer and the observed cannot be cleanly separated in experiments. Depth psychology finds the same pattern within, where every act of self-observation changes the state we are observing. Taken together, this suggests that what is most basic is neither stuff out there nor thoughts in here, but the ongoing event of experience itself. which has inner and outer aspects. The primary given is experience, not matter versus mind. Every measurement is an interaction that helps bring the phenomenon into being. The observer in us turns out to be moved, shaped, and corrected by a wider unconscious background. The old picture of a finished world out there and the detached spectator in here has fallen apart. Meaning becomes a fundamental feature of reality, not a late human invention. The implication is that equations, symbols, myths, and dreams may all be partial languages used by one underlying reality to speak itself. Experiments with focused intention hint at this. When people enter a strong, coherent state of attachment or desire, their field can nudge devices designed to behave randomly, as if meaning were adding a slight tilt to the sea of possibilities. Our concepts distort this unified field into inside and outside, subject and object, but these are tools, maps, not the territory itself. Sometimes inner image and outer event arise together in a way that feels more than chance. A dream at night, an encounter the next day. A symbol that appears both in fantasy and in the world, around a crisis or a threshold. What matters then is less what caused this, and more what is this asking of me now? What is its hidden symbolic meaning? It is as if a given moment in time has a particular tone, and inner and outer happenings gather around that tone, like iron fillings around an archetypal magnet. When we feel that an inner image and an outer event belong to the same meaning, as if a deeper order briefly shines through. Jung named it synchronicity. Several weeks ago I dreamt of a turtle at my door. The next morning, as I stepped outside, I saw a turtle slowly crossing my threshold. The dream didn't cause the turtle to appear, and the turtle's appearance didn't cause the dream. It is this one field of reality that brought them both together, as a symbolic message to myself. Behind this, we can imagine an unknown ground, neither mind nor matter, from which both arise, appearing as probabilities in physics and as archetypal patterns in the psyche. From the side of the psyche, the same creative ground takes shape as the archetypal self, the image of the totality of being that is larger than the ego, yet lives through it, pressing us towards integrity in ways we rarely become conscious of. Physicists sometimes describe this background as a quantum vacuum or zero-point field, abundant with virtual possibilities. Depth psychology recognizes it as the collective unconscious, charged with timeless symbols and patterns. Different vocabularies, one ground. Classical science spoke of energy, space-time, and causality. To those we add a fourth, correspondence or meaning, an a-causal patterning that links events by form and significance. From this perspective, physics and depth psychology are two symbolic languages for one underlying reality. We don't need to reduce one to the other. We need a vision that lets body and spirit, inner and outer, rational and irrational, stand as complementary aspects of one field. To live from here is to know we are participants in an ongoing act of realization. Every experiment and every dream, every careful measurement and every moral choice is a place where that deeper order takes on a new, specific form through us. On the human side, feeling becomes crucial. A mathematician senses elegance before every proof is written. A scientist feels the rightness of a pattern before all the data is in. The body knows a harmony between whole and parts before the mind can explain it. Our emotional sensitivity, especially aesthetic feeling, acts like a gate at the threshold of awareness. Endless unconscious combinations rise and fall. Only a few arrive with that shock of beauty, dread, or deep recognition. Those are the ones that cross into consciousness. The heart plays a central role in this selection. Its electromagnetic field is far stronger than that of the brain and can be measured several feet around the body. When we sit in frustration or fear, that field becomes jagged and fragmented. When we cultivate gratitude and love, it becomes more coherent, and our brainwaves, hormones, and immune system begin to entrain to that new rhythm. Every sincere practice of feeling consciously is also an act of shaping the field you live in, influencing how new form crystallizes in and around you. As the quantum physicist Wolfgang Pauli wrote, "I feel, therefore I am," is as fundamental as "I think, therefore I am." Feeling is not decoration on top of facts. It may be part of how reality itself selects and shapes new form. A future natural law would have to confess this. It would count not only forces and particles, but also the singular event, the inner image, the aesthetic aha moment, as fundamental factors in how the world unfolds. Along this narrow path, precision and wonder must shake hands. Cause and meaning are like two harmonizing voices of one unseen order, learning to speak and sing through us. All the grand patterns take form in one ordinary day, in the way you answer a message and meet another pair of eyes. We are trained to say, it is nothing but habit, chemistry, old wounds repeating, but something in us refuses that verdict. Maybe you felt that refusal, thinking, this can't be all there is. Imagine instead that your life is a place where the unknown whole tests new form. Jung called this long experiment individuation, the gradual unfolding of the pattern that the archetypal self is trying to realize through you. Not in abstractions, but in the tone of your voice, the courage of a no, the tenderness of a yes, the choice to stay or to walk away. Then ethics is not mainly about rules, but the art of shaping a life that fits the deep structure of the psyche. Every honest step in this direction, however small, belongs to your individuation. What you do to another moves through the same field that holds your own self. Every contempt thickens you. Every honest blessing turns your pattern toward wholeness. So, what does this look like in an ordinary week? Let me offer you a few small experiments. For a week, each day, take one strong inner event and one outer event from the same day. Write them side by side. Ask, if these belonged to one story, what would this story be asking of me now? You are training the eye for meaning, not only for causes, gathering scattered reactions into a more coherent pattern of response. When the body speaks with tension, symptom, impulse, pause for a moment. Feel it. Describe it as an image, a fist in the chest, a collapsing bridge in the stomach. Then ask, If this was a message from the field, what is it pointing to in my life right now? Do not rush to say just coincidence. You do not need to know the cause. Instead, feel its tone and ask how you might respond a little more consciously to it. These are small experiments, but slowly they loosen the old habit of inside versus outside and let you feel one continuous field. Our deepest crisis is a crisis of what we count as real. If matter is only dead stuff and soul a private hallucination, then nothing that happens inside you seems to matter. But if inner images, dreams, and sudden recognitions have echoes in the world around you, then how you answer them, whether you turn towards them or turn away, is where your ethics take shape. In this sense, Incarnation is not one miracle sealed in the past, saved only for the most spiritual individual. It is a rhythm, the invisible pressing into form through each choice, word, gesture. So the question returns to you. How will you think, feel, speak, create, if every small fidelity to what you know inwardly to be true is the way the whole becomes more conscious through you? No one can answer that for you, but you can sense when you are cooperating and when you are refusing. Follow that sense into how you earn, love, rest, and meet the world. Then this one field of reality will not live only in theory. It will live as the style of a life that lets reality come through you from both sides at once.